Mr. Deputy Speaker, I declare that I'm a medical doctor in private practice. In a fair and just society, we recognize that people don't get to choose where or when they will be born, that people do not get to choose their parents, that children do not get to choose their genetic background. And today I'm speaking about the challenges faced by children with rare diseases. Each of us inherits half our genes from our father, one half from our mother. Sometimes a gene is inherited which doesn't work the way it's expected to. If there's a copy from the other parent which is working all right, the child may still be fine. But in some cases, a child is doubly unlucky and inherits two copies of a flawed gene. These diseases are rare, very rare. Not much published literature is available on the Singapore experience, but a 2006 paper in the Annals of the Academy of Medicine, Singapore, reported a 13-year experience at the Singapore General Hospital Reference Laboratory. From 1992 to 2005, a total of 127 patients were diagnosed, although the tests offered did not encompass all known rare diseases. So even with better technology, better testing, better awareness, the number would still be small. One estimate by patient advocacy group Rainbow Across Borders, reported in the Straits Times, suggests there could be 2,000 to 3,000 rare disease patients in Singapore. However, even if rare, they can be devastating for a child and worrying for the parents. And even if the disease is so rare that the odds of getting it are 0.001%, for the child who gets the disease, the impact is 100%. Let me illustrate with a few examples. Pompe disease is caused by the lack of an enzyme called acid alpha-glucosidase. It is a rare disease. Some estimate it affects between 1 in 40,000 or as few as 1 in 138,000. It affects the muscles, including the muscles of the heart. So children with Pompe disease have weak hearts, get heart failure, and can have difficulty moving or breathing. Without treatment, the classic severe early onset type of Pompe disease is devastating. The median age at death for children with the severe form of the disease is 9 months. Yet if patients are given enzyme replacement therapy with L-glucosidase alpha, a treatment approved by the FDA in the USA since 2006, there's a significant reduction in the risk of death for such children, between 79% and 95% reduction in the risk of death. But this treatment is expensive. It's been reported that it can cost as much as $10,000 a week to treat a young child. Deputy Speaker, Gaucher disease is another rare disease caused by the lack of an enzyme in the body. In children with Gaucher disease, the liver and spleen will swell and swell. The brain and other organs can be affected too. In the more serious cases, the children can die before the age of 2 years. There are treatments for Gaucher disease which work by replacing the missing enzyme in the body. But again, the treatment can be very expensive. Some estimate at over $20,000 a month. Another rare disease is bile acid synthesis disorder, and it is very rare, even among rare diseases. Fewer than 50 reported cases around the world in the international medical literature. But we also have a little boy in Singapore who unfortunately has this rare disease. There is a drug available called cholic acid, but the cost was estimated at over $25,000 per month. Even with parallel imports from other markets, the drug cost was reported as about $5,000 per month. Deputy Speaker, what these rare genetic diseases and similar diseases have in common is the condition is rare, the impact is catastrophic, and the need for treatment is not elective. Indeed, treatment is necessary for the child to carry on living a normal life, or in some cases, to carry on living. Another recurring theme is that the drugs are very expensive and can be very hard to get hold of. The market is small, so there's no economies of scale for the producer. The cost of research and development can be very high. There are administrative overheads with registering such orphan drugs in Singapore, as they call it. And there is very little commercial interest in developing such drugs or making them widely available at a good price, even if development is successful by the drug company. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the affected children may be few. The affected families may be small in number. But we must not leave behind any Singaporean child. And over the past decade, since the mid-2000s, it is clear that our government thinking in Singapore has shifted towards a more inclusive society. Our social policies today include the Workfare Income Supplement, ComCare, EduSave bursaries, many, many more. Part of a progressive fiscal system where the fruits of progress are shared, especially with the less well-off and the less fortunate. And we can see that MOH has shifted to, over the years, as part of what some have called an evolving new way forward. Medifund was set up in 1993 as an endowment fund to help needy Singaporeans with large medical bills. MediShield Life was implemented recently in 2015. It's not just an insurance policy. It is a social policy to help Singaporeans from all walks of life in case of catastrophic medical bills, serious illness. Importantly, MediShield Life helps regardless of whether one is very old or whether one has a pre-existing condition from birth. There's also the Medication Assistance Fund, MAF, and MAF Plus to help patients access new medications which may be beyond their means, but which could still benefit the patient. Deputy Speaker, at the same time, no policy is perfect. And when a condition is very unusual, like a rare disease, it sometimes doesn't fit into existing policies. So what I propose, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is for MOH to look at how the government can extend more support to children with rare diseases. It is a common sense move, and it's not a radical policy shift. In fact, it's very much in line with the deeper philosophy that already underpins our current social and healthcare policies. For example, let's look at risk pooling. MediShield Life and other policies recognize the role of pooling risk, of sharing risk within a cohort or within the population. It is part of a broader social policy message that when we share risk, when we pool risk, it means no Singaporean has to walk alone. And just as MOH has over the years improved coverage for rare, catastrophic illness, we can and should find ways to support children with rare diseases, diseases which are also rare and catastrophic. Because the condition is genetic, because it's inborn, there is no direct moral hazard from providing that extra coverage and support. Furthermore, Deputy Speaker, the private sector insurance market cannot adequately address this issue. Rare childhood genetic diseases are inborn, and insurers, being profit maximizers, will act in accordance with their business interests, and this means insurers will cherry-pick who they want to cover. In practice, this means private insurance companies limiting or even denying coverage to people with pre-existing conditions, especially rare diseases which are present from birth. Again, Mr. Speaker, we see a role for government stepping in where the free market is inadequate or where no private sector player can find a compelling commercial case to support such patients. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as a people, we decide what kind of society we want. In particular, would we want a child with rare diseases to be supported if that child were our son or our daughter? Would we want the parents to have peace of mind if the parents were our friends or family? And especially when doing so is a natural progression and harmonization of existing policies and existing policy philosophy. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I was thinking back to my maiden speech in this House in January 2016. I said back then, we do not choose our parents or when we will be born, so we must always be a fair and just society. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, we do not choose our parents. We do not choose the genes we inherit from our parents, and so we must continue to be a fair and just society for healthy children as well as children born with rare diseases. Thank you.